What's up, everyone, and welcome to episode 11 of Cracka. This episode, I'm going to review a couple of the X-Men movies. I'm going to try to do the first two at least, because I don't want to make them too long and go too into depths, because it's better off just to watch them. Without further ado, let's go on to the X-Men number 1. This was Marvel's cash cow. This was the thing that brought it all together. Well, the start anyway. It had Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, and quite honestly, if Hugh Jackman wasn't Wolverine, or Wolverine wasn't in it at all, it probably wouldn't have done as well as it did. He pretty much was just awesome. Hugh Jackman is Wolverine. It's funny because the X-Men was originally supposed to come out in 1990, a movie. They were supposed to have Arnold Schwarzenegger, I remember reading in the Wizard magazine, as Colossus, Patrick Stewart as Professor X, some supermodel was Psylocke, Robert De Niro was supposed to play Wolverine, and I think it was like a joke, like they weren't even going to have Magneto. It was just going to be just soldiers they were fighting. But they made the new one in 2000, and it was awesome. I mean, it's a 10 out of 10. It's an awesome movie. Even if you're not a comic book fan, you don't have to know the comics to like the movie. Some little details that they switched around, like Wolverine, for instance, like his claws come out of here rather than the back of his hands like they do in the comics, which would make more sense, I guess, because in the comics he has these metal cylinder things coming out of his back of his hands, so his blades would come out through there rather than here. I guess, and plus in the comics he keeps them in there so that the channel stays open, so he doesn't have to constantly heal over and over again. It's just kind of, but hey. But they did it really cool in the movie, how like when you first see his claws pop out in slow motion. Very, very cool. Ian McKellen as Magneto was perfect. Awesome. And obviously Patrick Stewart as Professor X, it's a no-brainer. It's perfect. James Marsden plays Cyclops. Very, very cool. I like how they did the optic blasts. Famke Janssen as Jean Grey. Awesome. Anna Paquin as Rogue. They made Rogue, they definitely made her different than what she is in the comics. In the comics, she absorbs Miss Marvel's powers, so she's able to fly, she's indestructible, super strength, stuff like that. In the X-Men, she has none of that. I mean, she can absorb powers, but she hasn't absorbed Miss Marvel's because obviously she's not around. So that's pretty much it with Rogue. They actually wound up making Toad cool. Ray Park played Toad, and perfect. Tyler Mane was Sabretooth, which they kind of made him more cat-like, but I thought it was cool. And was it Rebecca Romijn Stamos at the time? She was Mystique. They made her kind of scaly looking, but other than her comic part, which is just plain blue, it was cool. And Halle Berry was Storm. She didn't do bad in the first one. She actually was pretty cool Storm, but she kind of went downhill after that. It just kind of started slipping. Basically, the movie just all around it just kicked ass. It was really good. They did a lot of good work on it. It was Bryan Singer that directed it. Did an awesome job. I mean, they made the Wolverine Cyclops kind of stuff like perfect, just like in the comics. It was cool. I mean, they had some minor stuff, but all around good movie. Moving on to X-Men number 2. Basically, it's the same cast. They added a few characters. Like in X-Men 1, they had a lot of cameos that if you're a comic book fan, you notice, like Jubilee, Pyro, Shadowcat, so on and so forth. Warpath, I think, was in there. The second one is basically everything you liked about the first one, and then some. They added Nightcrawler, which is awesome, because I love Nightcrawler. And they had a cameo by Colossus, and he just kicked ass. Like, they really made him detailed. They made him look like Colossus the way he should have. Which kind of fits because in the comics, Wolverine, Nightcrawler, and Colossus are buddies, so it's kind of cool how they did that. They added Lady Deathstrike, which was pretty cool, and they added, I believe it was Mastermind, it's Stryker, Curtis Stryker, it's his son, which I don't know if that's true in the comics, I don't remember reading it, but he secretes something, whatever, and he puts it in a syringe, and basically gets other mutants to do what he wants. Like I said, like Alan Cummings was Nightcrawler, and he was perfect. I mean, obviously it doesn't say the word "bamf" when he teleports, but the way they did his teleportation, freaking cool. Especially in the beginning when he's going through the White House, that was awesome. Very, very cool. I loved it. I think I actually like the second one better than the first. even though the first one had some cool stuff, the second one, just Nightcrawler, it sealed the deal. A spoiler alert, a little bit of a spoiler alert. If you watch the movie, Jean Grey does turn into the Phoenix, technically, and it was cool how they did it. I mean, they didn't really explain too much of it. They just kind of see her, I guess, like take form of the Phoenix at the end. But it was cool. It was very cool. I am moving on to X-Men 3, The Last Stand. Indeed, it was. It wasn't directed by Bryan Singer like the first two were. It was Brett Ratner, I believe, that directed it, and they tried to make it kind of funny. I mean, it had cool stuff. It really did have a lot of cool stuff, but it just sucked in so many ways because just certain things just kind of pissed me off. Like, in the X-Men movies or in comic books in general, Hollywood doesn't like to give their actors masks. Whereas, like, you don't see Wolverine in his mask at all, ever. And that's what kind of sucked about the first one, too, is they all looked like a biker gang, all dressed in black, and nobody had any individual costumes. But minor stuff. I would love to see Wolverine in his mask at least once, or somewhat of a costume. Like, at least in the first one, they make fun of the costume, but it would still be cool to see the mask. In the third one of my favorite villains, X-Men villains, is the Juggernaut. And Vinnie Jones didn't do a bad job. It's just that the Juggernaut, if you look at him, he has a helmet that covers his entire face. Only his eyes and barely his mouth, like you can see. But in the movie, there's no front faceplate. It kind of looks like a dick. That's pretty much it. I mean, it's just, other than that, I mean, he had all his powers intact, but it's just, ugh. They added the Multiple Man, another character I love, but they didn't use him to his potential. He just basically joins Magneto, and then they use him a little later on for like a 2-second thing. And Multiple Man is awesome. He just got an awesome power. I mean, every time you hit him, or he hits anything, he multiplies. Hello, that's awesome. They finally added Angel. Ben Foster played him. He didn't do a bad job. I mean, he was actually pretty cool as him. I always liked Archangel better, but you got to start with Angel, otherwise there's no point. Pretty much everything else is the same, except Jean Grey does become the Phoenix, like in the second one. But rather than in the comics, where it's an alien thing, it's more of a multiple personality, like kind of thing. Like her powers are too strong, and they take over a whole other personality, and so on and so forth. And another little spoiler alert: she winds up destroying Professor X by disintegrating him, and apparently killing Cyclops. But they never really show you him getting dropped. Another spoiler alert: after the credits, if you watch, Xavier comes back to life in a new body. Other than that, I mean, like I said, like, it wasn't bad, but out of like a 1 out of 10, I'd probably give it maybe a 5, if that. Just so much stuff. They just didn't pull it off like they did in the second one. That's pretty much it for the review of the first 3 X-Men. The next episode, I'll probably review First Class as well as X-Men Origins Wolverine. I hope you liked the review. I hope it had some fun there. I had fun talking about it. I think I might actually go watch one now. See you later.